at the Scion Exchange years ago that I grafted onto, but only three out of four of them the graft didn't take. So I just let it grow. So I've got this fabulous rootstock growing. So I'm gonna take these. It's all apples.
Yeah.
Take these and try a graft again onto this rootstock that's well rooted.
Okay. Okay. And so how is using a grafting knife for you so far?
I haven't used it since I did that 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm still really capable.
So I'll just talk a little bit about how I like to use the knife. Let me just get some practice wood. Okay, that's a good piece of practice wood.
Yeah, so there's a sign up. You don't need to now at this point, but I do want people to sign a waiver. You're not signed up, so let me go grab that.
I signed a waiver.
Sign a waiver.
So these are some of the safety
I like the CD.
the safety things, and also these are cut-proof gloves.
Really?
Yeah.
So is that what they're called? Where'd you get those?
So you put that on your non-dominant hand, the hand that's not holding the knife, right?
And did you get those online or is that?
Yeah, I got this online, and the brand is called No Cry, and this is even stronger. It has a special tip.
Okay.
So, but CD works just. What I like about using the CD is that while I'm cutting here, I have really good grip.
Right.
The gloves don't give me very good
Right.
gloves. Plus, there are a lot of.
Chair up here. Having a little intimate. Oh, so.
Oh, don't worry, he'll move. Is this okay with you guys? He's just practicing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So I
So,
watched his class and saw
oh,
the
okay.
different cuts.
Okay, I'm gonna try to
But
not.
I haven't held anything yet.
So the way that I like to use, there's a lot of people teach making cuts like this towards the hand,
Yes.
and that's a really terrible idea in my book. And so I like to use my shoulders to make the cut because if you use your wrist or if you use your elbow, number one, they're not very strong. Your wrist is also more designed to do very small movements. So you're more likely to get a lot of scoops. Okay. And too many scoops, you don't get a good cambio contact. You want to get a straight cut as much as possible to maximize the contact. So deltoids, they're used to do this.
Right.
Okay. So they're really strong muscles and they also move in a straight line. You see, like this. If you use your elbow, there's still a curve to it. Oh, I thought they were supposed to bring grafting tape over here. So, so this is how. So, I I hold the knife like this. So you want the flat side. So most grafting knives have a flat side, and this is a side that's sharpened off.
Right.
Okay, you want the flat side facing you, and because you want to cut the wood you don't want away and keep with you what you want to keep. So once I get the knife kind of set, I first think about the angle I want to make the cut. So I just get the knife barely under the bark. And I start from the bottom. And then at this point, I don't really look at it anymore. I just need to use my shoulders and punch my elbows aside. Okay? And it's also set up that I can't cut myself.
Right.
Okay? Because some people do this, and I just do.
So that when
Oh,
I'm cutting
there you
down,
go.
Okay, and so we have a really long cut.
so then it doesn't really matter how big that split is. I always like to make this piece first.
About that much is enough.
This is way too many minutes. You're grafting something.
I'm always putting the blade away because I'm heavy bleeder. So once I start bleeding, it's hard to get it to stop.
For how many pounds? You can graft it with 1, you can graft it with 3, you can graft it with 7.
So you will very likely
I often go like with my wingspan of my stuff in my pinky, and that's about how long I want it.
have a smaller piece of scion than your wood because what you're grafting on is going to be at least this much more likely something like this,
Yes.
right, onto your tree. So I could do the demo. We'll just start from. So I usually cut it below
A bud.
a bud because it's really hard to cut through a bud on old wood like this. And then the direction that I will cut would be bypassing this bud because that's the thing that's really hard to get past.
Right here on the inside of this.
So I'll go like that.
My diameter
I see.
is pretty close to the same. I want this to be, if I can possibly get it. I'm just gonna put it down just a little bit. See if I can get that a little bit better. You want to try to remove any bulges that you see.
Oh, you can't use a CD with that because it's fat. It's fatter than the CD. Got it.
Yeah. Any little piece of thin plywood, like 1/4 inch, tends to work better. And just drill a hole. It doesn't have to be pretty.
Sure. Although that one is.
So now I have this nice little plain.
My partner likes to do
What I want to do is I want to try
woodwork, and he likes to make pretty things for me. That's so sweet of him to make that. See, this is,
get this side and this side to line up.
Maybe it's kind of dry.
yeah. So I have,
The back of my tool has this handy little knife under the back.
you could use a cleaver for this. This is more like a cheese knife that we sharpened.
And then we're just going to try to line this up in here.
Just makes it a little bit easier. And when you're working on your tree,
Yes.
you put that there. You don't even need this. You could take like a mallet and just tap it.
Right, because it's attached to the tree. Yes. Makes it easier.
Yeah.
It's not, sometimes it'll be perfect the first time and you'll,
Did you hear that guy say he's got
On 1 acre, yeah.
so when I'm looking at this, I can see a little wavy.
Yep.
And then I see a little bit of a bulb right there in the middle. It could be
Very
that,
much so.
sometimes
Possibilities are limitless.
no, just started to feel like science.
so
Just
it's constantly
experiment.
see a little
Yep.
twisting. It might not
So this is a lot like the Scion you might get. Do you
Yep.
want me to talk through the cleft graft, or would you rather just do practice with a knife?
Either way is fine with me.
Okay, I'll just talk through this quickly. So that's a decent cut for cleft. I could shoot for a longer cut, or that is fine. That works. See, I went off a little bit. So I use something to pry it open.
Right.
It's a good idea to not get oil and, from your finger or the dirt into it.
Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. It's also a good idea to clean the branch, wipe any dirt off.
Okay.
So you could just jam it in a little bit. my cut. It was a little too deep. So I'm going to make this a little longer, the cut a little longer.
A little bit bigger. It's not going to be completely smooth, but you want it to be kind of smooth. So you can use your bark as a general guide, or you can have your scion just be a little high in there, and then you can see on the top where that green layer is and look at it. I like to use laboratory grade careful. Grab it. Everybody kind of does the part a little bit differently.
So the key to successful graft is having the cambium of the two parts match. The cambium is the layer that can regenerate the plant. So the cambium is within the green part, just underneath the bark. So
Easier for Amazon to fake. So like if you're editing it.
so you see the green layer here
So I order mine straight
in
from
Iribel.
Scientific.
See that? Let me get my.
And so the plant is going to grow through this. This is on here. I'm not going to have to worry about it.
Oh, it's right
Cut it off later. It's not going to girdle anything. But you do have to kind of warm it up in your hand a little bit.
So this is a cross section. Right underneath the brown bark, which is called the outer bark, is a layer of green. That's called the inner bark. The inner bark is the live tissue. Therefore, its color is green. And inside that green layer is a very thin layer called cambium. It's only like a few cells thick. Okay, so you can't really see it. And then on a bigger stick, this green layer is thicker.
I see.
On your scion, it's thinner. Okay, so the key is not so much to match it up on the outside. So to get the cambium, say if we're doing this side, the big stick needs to be inside just a little bit to get the layer to match, because this is thicker and this is thinner. So one thing,
So you don't center it.
you don't center. Definitely you don't want to center.
You want it to be close to the outer
Yeah,
edge where the-
because once you get a cambium contact,
Yeah.
it'll start making the vascular connection, and then it'll grow and fill in the whole thing. Okay, so it might look odd to you initially, and I also often put a bud in the graft union, because you see how wiggly the line is over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So when you do this, you're getting multiple crossing. Okay, apples and pears are fairly easy. If you're just even close, they will callus, and then the callus will differentiate and start making the vascular connection. So I may do with something like this. Can you want to pass around and see that?
How about cherry?
Cherry, you can use the same graft. Cherries are generally best done during the summer, so like late May, June,
Okay.
when the plant is actively growing. Cherries also don't heal wounds very well, so you definitely don't want to do it when it's wet. Okay, they're prone to a lot of diseases. So
Touchy.
yeah. And then I usually leave 2 buds, 2 to 3 buds, no more
So
than
you
that.
don't leave a long stick. You don't leave a long stick.
No. I'll explain why. There's so much energy that comes up this branch. If you have 10 buds, it's gonna get spread out. With 10 buds, they're each gonna grow a little bit. Okay? If you only have 2 buds,
They get 50%
they get,
instead
yeah.
of 10%.
Like if I'm really, really sure about a bud, I could even cut it down to 1. Okay, so ideally, we'll wrap this, demonstrate wrapping in a moment. So ideally, you'll let this grow for a couple of months.
I want to keep the moisture
And
in the stick, but I don't want atmospheric.
watch which bud puts out the strongest growth. And ideally, you want to suppress the weaker one. And eventually, say by the middle of summer, you just want to remove the weak one altogether. So this one really shoots out, growing. Because if you're a long bud stick, you may just get a few fruit on it eventually.
Yeah.
But if you actually really love a variety that you want a whole big branch of, you want this to shoot out growing. So as the growing season goes, any buds that's below this, you want to remove. Okay, because that's an energy drain also. Sometimes this bud will start growing too. Occasionally, this ends up being the strongest. So you just choose the one, both in terms of its vigor and growing in the direction that you would like it to grow. So generally, for a fruit tree, the more horizontal the branch is, the more fruitful it is. The more vertical, the more vigorous it is. So initially, when you get a new graft, you want it to grow vigorously. And then the following season, you start to train it to be flatter, to be more fruitful. So, do you want me to show you wrapping or? Okay, because I want you guys to have a chance to do some cutting also. So David talked about tape, masking tape, freezer tape.
Freezer tape.
Yeah. So you want to definitely start way below where the cut is,
Type.
and really pull up the tension. If it breaks, that's fine. Just grab another piece and go over that.
Yep.
Okay. And you also want to make sure it sticks. It's only strong if it can
That's a great question.
stick.
If they weren't in sun and they weren't in some of the high temperature wind, they might be okay. What I look for on your scions is shrink it.
So masking tape doesn't come out looking gorgeous, but it's functional.
This is construction. What do you call it? Construction quality or something?
Huh?
Construction grade
Construction grade?
Yeah, contractor grade. Yeah.
Contract.
So as you get over here, you want to flatten out. Basically, you want to protect the cut surface as much as possible, because
I don't typically clean the rootstocks because the rootstocks are
the most important thing is to protect the graft union and the scion from dehydration.
And so, like, all the rootstocks that we brought for you guys from Redwood Empire, those came from Willamette Nursery in Oregon. And so they had to pass CDFA inspection to come across the state lines to get to us.
And then you also want to seal this off.
Yeah.
It's okay to have that little arch on top, so you have kind of a shoulder, like you narrowing and coming out, because it's best to not get bark trapped in there, because this is open wood and this is open wood, so you'll get callousing and it'll cover up this cut. But if you have bark trapped inside, these two pieces won't be able to close up completely.
Interesting.
So just cover anything that could cause dehydration. This still has a little bit not covered. You see, there's just a little piece missing. So you don't want to
Feel this finger.
Right, okay.
So it doesn't really,
cover
grafting onto something isn't going to attach
buds.
your plant to the plant.
So these are your two buds. You want to leave those uncovered. So if you're grafting during the
Just make sure
dormant season, you could just put some tape
on your scion.
on top and seal the cut
And if you see little flecks that look like
while
relics
leaving the
in the
bud
base here,
um,
then that has fire.
open.
People might not be able to recognize fire blight whenever they're cutting dormant.
So right now this is fine.
And so,
But if you do graft a little later in the year,
I
as weather gets really warm, I would use
pretty much the only known one. This one that in the host that apple.
so David talked about paraffin.
Yes.
Okay. I use a similar thing. This tends to work for me a little better. This is called buddy tape. This is all, both this and parafilm are just high-tech material. This will stretch a long, long, long way.
Yeah, what kind of tape
Okay.
is this?
And it sticks to itself.
What's it called again?
This is called buddy tape.
Got it.
Buddy tape. This is like $55 a roll.
Yeah.
$5 a roll. Holy smokes.
But it has like
I have used this before.
900 pieces
Okay.
in a roll. I have had this roll for about 3 years, and last year I did about 100 graft, and the year before I did about 100
How does that
graft.
compare to the cost of the paraffin?
I think comparable. Parafoam, you also have to buy a big roll.
Right. He had a box.
Yeah. So I usually start wrapping just from the top of the graft union.
Oh, you go right over the buds.
Yes, because with these two material, the bud can grow through them. Okay, so it sticks to itself. It is breathable and waterproof, and the bud can break through. So mostly you just do one layer, occasionally two, because you want to do a little bit of overlap. So it'll look like this
Okay.
when you're done. And usually on a tree, if the branch is coming out like this, I put this on top. Okay, I put the scion on top. You can also, what some people do, if you have a really big, branch, and you have a giant cut gap over there, you could stick.
I wait until like mid-March. Start doing.
So this is not the time to start grafting.
Oh yeah, absolutely, you could start grafting.
Really? Because they were saying you want the tree to start growing.
For peaches and nectarines, you want to let the tree push out. For apples and pears, you could start grafting now,
Okay, good.
especially if you're going to be cutting back, because usually I recommend that you cut fairly close to the main trunk.
Yes.
Yeah. So so that's a more drastic cut, and which is better done during the dormant season.
So that it matches the
So I could get another piece.
straight across and then peel up that little flap. And then for the Scion piece,
And you know that the direction of your scion is important, the polarity.
the places
Polarity?
The polarity. So these are pointing up. And you want the buds to also be pointing up. Up and down are important. You don't want to reverse that.
Gotcha. So don't put your scion in upside down.
So instead
Right.
now we're gonna make
That seems obvious, but
It seems obvious, but really, yeah.
and
Think
so
about
I bet it's has.
Yeah.
Do it without thinking and then, oh,
Like,
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
something else to look out for.
Ideally, this could be a little bit longer, but this will do the job. So you could do this. Okay, but let me explain why we're doing this.
and then I'm gonna take my knife.
This cut and this gap in your stalk will heal a lot faster because hopefully you'll have two things growing.
And I'm gonna take
Okay, so they'll fill in the gap, and it'll just be a lot better protected. Okay, and as these grow, say like by end of the season, again you want to choose one bud that you're gonna prefer to keep, and the other branch you also keep it suppressed. Okay, and by the end of the season, and after you see that there's a lot of healing happening, so this is all callus over, you want to eventually cut off the second one. Okay, so the reason why you do this is not so much to have two branches. Yeah, yeah, and this makes it a little trickier to wrap also because you have that.
Why couldn't you have two growing? Is it- Like you said, it's too much.
Yeah,
You're
again,
dividing the energy again.
right, right. Anytime you want to have a clear leader,
Yeah.
and that's the thing in pruning also, you want to have a clear leader, and then the others are just smaller lateral, like almost horizontal branches, and those are the fruitful branches. You want the big leader to have more vegetative strength. Also, the leader also exerts some dominance over these smaller branches. Okay, to not allow the smaller branches to grow really fast, which makes them more fruitful. This is vegetative vigor, this is fruitfulness.
Yes.
So you kind of,
I have.
so you want to wrap it like this, and you want to put the tape in there and like that. And it's just a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But this really, a cut like this will heal really, really well. No need to do that. So, any questions? So if you were to not put a bud in there, I still like to angle it a little bit
Maybe you want to add
to get crossing. So like this. Okay. Just very, very, very subtle crossing.
that works really well for apples and pears. You can do it with plums and peaches, but they don't like it. They'd rather be in a
So like that will do.
Oh, yeah.
It's not very much crossing.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
Yeah. You want to do some cutting?
Let's cut.
Yeah. You guys signed waivers?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Like it's like playing a musical instrument.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta feel really comfortable with your knife, and then like the thing I was talking about, how I think about where I want to make the cut. Okay, so this is probably the angle. You want it to be pretty close to parallel to get a longer cut.
Right.
And once I get that set up,
And
I don't really
Mind if I
look
take
at
a
it
picture of your
anymore.
hands?
it's not going to smell like a 1600s book.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. You can also, there's a diagram over there.
You got it. And then the last one I have to show you guys, this is kind of a weird one. So some people, they really still want their tree to look like a tall fruit tree. And so,
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
You did the exact cut, see?
drill a hole and jam a stick in there, but if you're
Could be a diagram.
So how I would use this when you print it out is I will put it upside down. That way my right is this right, my left is this left, and I would just set up my knife like this. So the blade is pointing towards the thumb, but you're not going to be cutting that way. And you set up your branch. Yes. Yes. Look at it like that. And then you want this at the level of your chest. When you drop it lower, you're more likely to make a curved cut. So at about the level of the chest, and then just pull. Okay, and you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. You want to do this. So go ahead